Well, hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Amazing Seller Podcast. This is episode number 715 and session number 225 of Ask Scott. This is where I answer your questions here on the podcast, and I'm going to do it again here today. And today, well, I'm excited, for a couple of different reasons. This question came in from Australia, which I love the accent with Australians, by the way. Just love it. But what we're going to be talking about is something that I think that a lot of you have probably either wondered or maybe even thought about doing or maybe are thinking about doing in the future. And that is how to structure a partnership or going in business with someone else. And what are the roles of each person or people? How does it split as far as money? How do you set it up legally? Like all of those things. That's what we're going to be talking about, but I'm going to let him talk about the question because he had a bunch of little questions inside of the overall question. So I'm going to let him in the voicemail explain the question, and then I will go ahead and answer it. Now, before we do, let me just remind you, if you have a question that you want me to answer on an upcoming Ask Scott session, all you have to do is head over to theamazingseller.com/ask, and you can do it right there. Just leave your first name, where you're tuning in from, and the question, of course, and I will do my best to answer it here on an upcoming Ask Scott session. All right, now, before we jump into that question, I have a couple of things. Number one, I said before that I was excited about a couple of different things. And this question today is that thing, right? But the other thing is Brand Accelerator Live is right around the corner. And oh my gosh, it's going to be amazing. Now, let me also throw it out there. It's a lot of work, but it's going to be well worth it. And it's really starting to come together. So just to give you a little bit of an update, we have the schedule now confirmed. Our banners and our signage has been finished, and I'm so excited on how it all looks. Swag bags, those are finished, which is, again, a lot of thought goes into this stuff because we want to make sure that everyone is going to walk away with stuff that will then benefit them later. And the swag bag items, yes, we nailed it. The stage setup, that's been a little bit of a back and forth, and we're still trying to nail that down because, I've been a little bit annoying about that, to be honest with you, because I want it a certain way, and I might be asking for too much, but I want it a certain way, and I want it to look really, really cool, but I also want it to serve a purpose where everyone can see from different angles. Like there's just a lot of thought that goes into it. So anyway, that's almost done. And then also my full reveal that I've been talking about, which I'm super excited about, has been completed. Almost 100%, I'd say 99%. We're like on the home stretch here, but it will be ready by Brand Accelerator Live and when we kick it off. And I will be doing that reveal on Thursday. So the very first day, I'll be doing it on that day. And I can't wait for everyone that's going to be there. And then if you're not attending, you'll hear about it later. But I'm going to be announcing it there. Really, really excited to share it with everyone that's attending at Brand Accelerator Live. And I do believe that this here is going to be something that's going to allow me to help more people, but it's also going to help the people that are, how can I say this without giving it away? It's going to help them that are there in person, but also help people that are going to be able to get access to this later. And again, more details to come. But if you are attending Thursday, I believe it is either late morning or early afternoon. I forget. I don't have the schedule in front of me. Super excited about that. But again, we're less than 30 days to go. So again, if you've not grabbed your ticket, we do have a very, very, very limited number of tickets. I think we have a small block still available, depending on when you're listening to this. If you're interested, you can head over to baltickets.com, baltickets.com. If you are listening to this after September 19th, 20th, 21st, you can still go there and you can get on the wait list, or you can grab next year's tickets, depending on when you are tuning in. But it's going to be awesome. I'm so excited about it. A little nervous. I mean, it's normal, but super excited. We've got a lot of great things planned. All right, so let me just give you my quick thoughts of the week, and I'm going to try to make it quick. But this is what I call the ripple effect. All right, now in episode 711, I posted a voicemail that came in from a listener, from one of you, and it was emotional. It really was. And, he wasn't even sure, Dave, his name is, he wasn't even sure if he was going to allow that to get sent through because he was somewhat embarrassed about it because he got emotional, but it just kind of took over as he was explaining his story and how far he's come and the life that he's now created for his family. And again, if you haven't listened to that episode, that is episode 711. I'll link everything up on the show notes. But the cool thing about that, not even counting that he's like going to be at Brand Accelerator Live, which is going to be awesome to be able to meet him, but the ripple effect from this, not just on his life, but what he's done is he's gotten someone else in the audience. His name is Radu, who's also going to be at Brand Accelerator Live. He listened to that and he's like, oh my gosh, like that's like my story. Like, oh my gosh, like I'm almost on the same path. Like 2 years ago, I started the business, it was a little shaky at first. And then I started figuring out how to build the brand. And then I did. And now you're full time, so that inspired him to want to message me and let me know his story. And so then what I did is I went ahead and I wrote an email about it and talked about it. And I'm not going to read the entire thing here. I'll actually include it in the show notes if you want to read it. But it's just, again, that's the ripple effect of community. That's the ripple effect of people being like, you know what? You're a lot like me. Like I'm doing this because I want to be able to create a life of freedom for myself and my family. And I want to do something that I can learn and build a skill set. So I always have this. And this way here, I don't have to be dependent on, an employer or on a channel, right? So all of these things are what we're all striving for. And to have that voicemail get published and then me air it and then get a message from Radu giving me his story is just amazing and awesome. And then to find out that they're both going to be at Brand Accelerator Live and Radu's like, I'm super excited to now be able to meet him and rub elbows with him and have a drink with him and just talk about life and about business. I mean, that is where the magic happens. So I'm just so excited that I'm able to bring those two people together, but also the community together and inspire and motivate through actions, through what people are actually doing. All right. So guys, if you have a story that you want to share with me, all you have to do is go to theamazingseller.com/story. And then from there, you can record your story. Just briefly, 5 minutes, that's all. It doesn't have to be that long. And from there, I'll listen to it. And, hey, who knows? Maybe I'll get you on the podcast. We could talk about it. All right. So go to theamazingseller.com/story. I would love to hear yours. I would love to highlight you, spotlight you as I've done here with Dave and Radu. So again, get out there and let me know your story. All right. So let's get rocking and rolling. I'm going to go ahead and play this message. And then from there, I'll answer the question or questions. And then from there, we can rock it out of here and get started with our weekend or our day, whatever you're listening to this, and we'll get rocking and rolling. What do you say? Let's do it.
Well, hey, Scotty B. It's Dean here from Queensland, Australia. Scotty, I've got a question around the partnership and the how you structure that, both from an informal and a formal perspective. So you talk about in your newish brand that you've got a face of the brand, someone that you can use in videos, photographs, and can again just be that face of the brand. And then behind the scenes, you've got yourself and Chris that are really working on, I guess, the marketing side of stuff and pulling all the strings from that particular area. So I'm just wondering if you could explain or give some advice on how you structure that in terms of money and how you allocate profits and who gets what, how you decide collectively how much goes back into the business in terms of your marketing spend, your Facebook ads, how you collectively decide what you're going to do with that, and how you divvy up the money. Is it equal shares for if there's three people in it? Do you the profits are equally shared, or is the person that's the face of the brand? Do they get more? In terms of who owns the brand, I'm interested to know, is that a collective entity or a company that you form collectively, or if you decided to sort of move away from it, would the face of the brand or the person that's out there, would they own that brand? Or just interested to know how that would work. Excuse me. It's just really for my own knowledge, looking at, there's a couple of opportunities locally with people that I think would be fantastic in terms of they already have a small little brand, or they have a service that they would be great to use. Excuse me. It'd be great to use as the face of that brand. So I'm interested how that works. I'm also interested, from a day-to-day perspective, and how you run that brand, like how you decide what social media posts, or what's going to be a video that you're going to shoot. Do you decide that collectively, and then the face of the brand would go out and do that themselves, or would you organize a professional sort of photo shoot, or is it more along the lines of they're just using their mobile phone to create that? And how do you decide collectively? Are you driving this as the marketing team behind the scenes for your the face of the brand, your brand ambassador, or the person that is the face of your brand? And how do you make that work? So I hope that makes sense. And any advice that you could give around how you currently structure it, and even if you have any advice around what you did wrong, or that you would change if you had the ability to start again, in terms of working with multiple people in a collective effort to build a brand. So any information you could give or share would be appreciated. So thanks, Scott.
Well, hey, Dean, what's up, man? Thank you so much for the question. And I need to say, that was an awesome way to intro your question. And I love it that you referred to me as Scotty V, because, growing up, everyone kind of referred to me as Scotty V. And it's just funny to hear now, so many years later, that I have, friends of mine in the online space, including yourself, referring me to Scotty V. My son, who's 21, we all refer to him as Scotty. So around the house, my wife doesn't call me Scotty. She calls me Scott. But it's just funny to kind of go back in time a little bit. But thanks for the question. Thanks all the way from Australia. Love it. And like I said earlier, love the accent, man. You guys sound so smart. You really do. That accent is just amazing. All right, so let's dig in to this question, which had a bunch of different questions kind of woven in. But I'm going to kind of just give you the overview, okay, of what this looks like. All right. Now, the first thing that I want to be so crystal clear about is this, and this is a major rule. All right. Do not go any further if this here is not 100%. All right. It has to be 100% yes. And from there, you can move on. Okay. And that is, you need to make sure that you have a good relationship and clear roles of what you'll be doing. All right. Let me say that again. It's a really important rule. Make sure that you have a good relationship and you have clear roles, because the truth is the business is going to have struggles. It's going to have obstacles. All right. And you need to be upfront and honest with what you are willing and what you're able to contribute to the business. And that also goes into what is the split, right? So it can't be awkward. It can't be uncomfortable, because if it is, then when that time comes, it's going to be even more awkward, right? So you need to just get it out in the open. And if it's a good fit, it is. If it isn't, well, you just saved yourself from getting a divorce. Right? Because that's really what we're talking about here. I mean, when you're going in business with someone, it's like a marriage. And my partner, we went through this in the very beginning, and we have a really great relationship. Now, have we had some, I don't want to say confrontations, but have we had some disagreements? Yeah, of course. I think anytime you're trying to push someone or, help grow something, or looking out for the best interest of the company or of the friendship, it's really, really important. With me, I wouldn't want to jeopardize the friendship. So if it was going, even at this point right now where we are in our business, if it was going to jeopardize our friendship, I would just walk away. I would say, you know what? It's not worth it. I don't want to jeopardize our friendship, our relationship. That is way more important than the business. Okay. Now, you may not be going into business with someone that's somewhat of a friend, or that you would consider that, and that's fine. but you need clear roles and expectations of what is expected of you and what you're contributing. I think that's a big one. All right. Because you don't want someone feeling like they're doing more work than you are. But if it was set up front to be like, listen, I'm just going to be the investor, money, and I'm going to be an advisor and I'll help where I can, but you're going to be the face or you're going to be doing this part of it. It needs to be identified very, very early on. All right. So I just want you guys to be very, very clear on that. Okay. And are there opportunities for you to be able to go out there and partner up with people? There's probably more than you could handle, to be honest with you. There's people right now that are running brick and mortar businesses that would love to sell their products online. You could help them with that, and you could partner with them on all their online sales. And you'll probably find out that their online sales are going to beat their local sales. Okay. But you need to be clear up front with what that's going to take, what your responsibilities are, what theirs are. But there's so much opportunity there. All right. So let me just kind of give you a little bit of the overview. So how this thing even happened was like we both were kind of looking into a certain market and then kind of going back and forth with ideas, not thinking 100% that it was going to be a partnership. And then once we seen an opportunity, I basically came up and said, hey, what do you think about us going in on this 50-50? And I'll be the investor, like I'll invest the capital to invest in inventory. And I will also add the marketing advice and if you want to call it advisory, any of that stuff. And I will help where I can with who I have access to. Okay. So that was like my side. Their side was they're really good at creating content. They're really good on camera. They're really good at building relationships with people. Right. And they're a hustler. Okay. So those are like the strengths. Okay. And the things that I don't want to do and that I don't have time to do. Okay. So that was the clear role. Now, where it gets a little bit fuzzy is like, well, the day-to-day operations, sometimes that means running over to the warehouse and doing that. And I mean, myself personally, I have not contributed probably as much as I should with going over to the warehouse and helping out where I could. But we have fixed that to where we have, both of us have older kids and theirs is someone that has helped out in a pinch. But that is something that we need to do as a team, and we both know it, but really they've taken more responsibility in that because someone has to, and they did. So it's just, again, it comes down to figuring that stuff out with each other, being open and honest. And in any relationship, you have to be open and honest. My wife and I have been married for 25 years. It all comes down to being open and honest. If there's something bothering you, you got to tell me, right? You got to tell me or I can't fix it, right? So it's the same thing in business. But again, this particular partner that I have here is also a friend. I do not want to lose that. If any time I think that that's going to be jeopardized, I need to have a heart-to-heart or we need to have a conversation because I do not want that to happen. All right. So that's kind of what we did at the very beginning. Now, things have changed. We recently had a meeting, and because we had a meeting also with actually Joe Valley from Quiet Light, who's actually going to be a sponsor at Brand Accelerator Live, which I actually look at those guys as partnerships. Any of our sponsors I look at as partners because they have products and services that we've either used or that we have grown to know and trust because of the relationships we built with those guys. But anyway, that's a separate topic. But I had actually had my partner meet with him to go over the business, where it is and where we want to take it and potentially selling it, and then kind of giving us that roadmap, which I think anyone should really do. But they gave us some really good ideas on what we could do moving forward over the next 12 to 18 months, 2 years, whatever, if we choose to sell. All right. So when that was done, one of the things was, listen, the face of the brand, you might want to start to add other faces to the brand. So this way here, you're not dependent on just that one face. And it makes sense. Not easy to do, but it does make sense. But when starting to get that traction, that's what you might need to do. So that's what we've been doing. We've been trying to add other content contributors, and that is something that's top of priority right now, is trying to get my partner a little bit more out of the business. And so this way here, we can have other people that would be running the business or contributing to the business. And, there's something that you probably have heard before. It's SOPs, standard operating procedures. I'm actually having my partner write down and document all of the procedures that they're doing on an everyday basis. So this way here, we can transfer them over to someone else when we want someone else to do them. But again, this has been a learning experience through a partnership. All right. Now, as far as the split, I'll be totally upfront with you guys. The way we did it was 50-50. And that's how it was set up at the very beginning. Now, yes, I have people on my team, Chris, that helps out with things. Well, I take money out of my 50 and I offset with him, right? Like I do that, and anyone else on our team for TAS that I would bring in that might be a VA, that comes out of me. That doesn't come out of my partner's 50. So that's kind of how I've done it. Okay, so this way here, my partner gets a clean 50. I might get 25 or 30. Okay, and I'm okay with that. Okay, but my partner might be doing a little bit more of the day-to-day work, so they should be compensated for that, not having to split it 4 different ways, right? And so that's kind of how we set it up. And again, it's going to be up to you, but we didn't want to also make it messy and where it's a whole bunch of different people in it, because you have other people that are coming in and they're like, oh, well, I'll help you with your business and I'll take 10%. We didn't want that, all right? But the other thing that we did is we created an LLC to make it legal. But I would also recommend contacting an attorney to help with that. So this way here, you make sure that everything is above board. Okay, so make sure that you do that. The other thing, and we did this probably around, I'd say about 8 months ago, maybe a little bit longer, we hired a professional bookkeeper. At first, my partner was doing a lot of the books. It's a pain in the butt. So the other thing that Joe recommended was hire a bookkeeper, and it keeps things clean. And when you go to sell it, it's better. So we said, okay, so we did. We hired a bookkeeper, paying them like $175 a month, maybe $200 a month, not much, to do all the books, which is great. So that's kind of how we've evolved. But again, keeping it simple, and I want to give you guys the simple answer here. There's not a one size fits all. That's what I want to be very clear. But we had very, very clear roles, okay? I agreed to invest in inventory and startup costs, okay? And I also agreed to be a marketing advisor / help where I could with my resources, okay? So again, you need to figure out what roles are going to be needed, which ones are you going to be filling, and which ones are they going to be filling? And then from there, does that work for both parties or all parties? So that's really what that comes down to. Okay. But the big one that I want you to really leave with here today is it does come down to trust and what each partner is bringing to the business. All right. But trust is a major, major factor here, because you do not want it to get ugly. You do not want it to turn into a bad marriage. All right. You want it to really, really be a great fit for everyone, and you will excel even more because now everyone is, they're happy. And they're also able to know that they can reach out and talk and get stuff off their chest. And I think it's important to keep that line of communication open always. But if you're thinking about doing this, it starts with a conversation, and it starts about what you're willing to do and what you're not willing to do, and making sure that everyone is agreeing on that. Okay. So hopefully this helped you. I know there's a lot more that could go into this, but I wouldn't overcomplicate it. But I also would make sure that you kind of go through some of those bullet points that I just went through with you and see if it's even a good fit. But number one is you need to have that conversation, and you need to make sure that everything is crystal clear on what all parties are going to be responsible for. All right, so hopefully this helped you, gave you a little bit more clarity. But also, if you want to grab the show notes, you can head over to theamazingseller.com/715, and you can do that over there. I'll also link up episode 711 with that life-changing voicemail that created a ripple effect, which is just awesome. And if you want to share your story with me, all you have to do is head over to theamazingseller.com /story and do it right there. All right, guys. So that's it. That's going to wrap it up. Remember, as always, I'm here for you. I believe in you and I am rooting for you. But you have to, come on, say it with me, say it loud, say it proud, take action. Have an awesome, amazing day. And I'll see you right back here on the next episode.